Welcome back to Spiritual Context for Worldly Chaos. This is part 2 of Gemma Gallucci's 2023 interview. Enjoy. I was reading a book and it said, it was a book on love readings, because I just want to read everything. But it said 9 out of 10 people that come to you want to hear about love, and the 10th person wants to hear about love. They just start with another question first.
Exactly. They're like, yeah, so I'm kind of stressed about my job, but what would really make that better? A relationship. And I'm like, well,
100.
Sometimes that's not what you need. Yeah.
It's so true. I remember one specific one, a person came to me, for a year reading and to look into the future, and they asked about their career. And that took like 15 minutes. And usually it doesn't take 15 minutes. Usually if it's the real question, if it's the thing that they really want to know about, it takes longer. And she was like, I think right after it was done, she goes, so I didn't want to start with the love reading because I didn't want to be one of those women, but really, and then that one took 45 minutes because that one actually had a story behind it, or like people involved, it wasn't just the prediction of the future, so totally. Love is the number one reason I'd say people come to a tarot reader. Is that, you would say that as well? Yeah,
I'd say so. The thing about me having people think about 3 things. So basically how it goes is I have them shuffle the deck until they feel like they're done shuffling it. So not to think about what I need or how quickly they have to shuffle it. Whenever you are done shuffling it is when the cards are ready. And then I have them split the deck into 3 piles and choose one pile. The other 2 piles just get discarded. That's not part of the reading anymore. And if I'm doing a 3-card spread, just past, present, future, people have this weird assumption that it's one card represents each of the things they were thinking about. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. And some people have this assumption that I'll get to everything. Even though I say I might not get to any of them, it's whatever the cards need you to hear. They get really upset when they don't find out if they're going to get a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a partner anytime soon. I'm like, well, that will come once you deal with these other 10 things that I'm seeing in this reading that you need to deal with.
Right. Well, and also it's just, I guess depending on where you live, but even then it's opened up by, all these dating apps or dating sites. Most of the time you'll run into somebody. Love is so rare, and a lasting love is even more rare than that. Yes. So even now that you're able to meet so many people, there's this idea that now love should be much easier, or I should, have it faster, or I should be able to, experience what I want to experience in an easier way. And that's just not true.
It's so much harder, honestly. I think it's harder because, how are you going to meet someone off an app like Tinder when it's basically a video game for rating attractiveness? You're just swiping left and right, hoping you're going to find the love of your life. And I know some people who actually got married off of Tinder, which is
100
bananas.
But I know.
It's definitely the minority. It's definitely a huge minority. And I think that everyone's set up to believe that they're supposed to find their one true love and have that white picket fence. But honestly, the way that our world functions, there's so many people that we get discouraged, and we assume that we're supposed to fit with anybody who that we maybe find attractive or find funny, and that's not it. It's more than just that.
I love that. And actually, this isn't something we've talked about yet, which is the reality of life when it comes to tarot reading. And a lot of people will have an expectation of a tarot reader or a psychic that when they come to them, one expectation I think that they have is that they're very nervous and that they're going to be told something really
terrible,
devastating.
Some
devastating.
Horrible news.
Exactly. I'm so scared.
Exactly when they're going to die. It's if I knew exactly when you were going to die, I would know when I was going to die, and I wouldn't be wasting my time giving you a tarot reading. I'd be out in
living.
I'd be on a vacation somewhere.
Exactly. But the other thing is, it's almost they also, some of them, not all of them, whoever this resonates with, but you can also feel like that tarot reader can change your life. And once you talk to a tarot reader, that person's going to walk into your life because somehow the transaction of whatever transaction's happening is a spell.
Yeah, they think that it's some kind of shift in the universe that will give you exactly what you want. But really what's actually happening is I'm just reflecting at you what you already know about yourself, but you just don't really want to hear.
Yeah, and and even if it's not what you want to hear, it's maybe more boring than you anticipated, because a lot of life is boring. A lot of the exciting stuff goes on in our minds, and it's from our memories or from the things that we're hoping we'll one day feel. But in the moment, like, if you've wanted to date somebody for a really long period of time, it's very exciting inside of you, but anytime you see that person, it's probably not terribly exciting from the outside perspective. If you haven't told that person how you feel, or if they haven't, made some
the weather.
Exactly. So like if we were watching the movie of this interaction, we'd all turn the channel, but to you, like, it's very big.
Exactly.
So I think it is really important, that tarot readers, especially people who are trying to become a tarot reader or trying to learn how to express themselves in that way, don't feel that pressure, like you were talking about earlier. Don't feel that pressure that you have to tell somebody what they want to hear. That's not your job. Your job is to tell the person what the cards say. And sometimes the cards are, mirroring and reflecting something that is not what you want to hear, and sometimes it is.
Exactly.
You got to brace your own self as a tarot reader for what the cards are gonna say.
Yeah, I've had people get very mad at me for the things that I bring up, and I'm like, well, I don't know. You came to a tarot reader. Something was gonna happen. I channeled like some issue with a person's parent, and they wanted to know about like whether or not they were going to see this like love of theirs again, and I like channeled this issue they had with the parent, and they like didn't want to talk about it, and then I was like, well, I don't know what to say, and they got like really mad, and I was like, I can try to reshuffle, and it was the same thing again.
And that's what also that does happen, especially when the person's charged. The same cards come out, the exact over and over and over again. So you can't, like, what are you supposed to do?
No,
Let me make up a story for you.
A stubborn thing. I've never met a tarot deck that has not been stubborn, basically, because they're very matter of fact. They'll tell you what you got to hear, and I don't do readings for myself usually. Don't tell Sandra that I do. I'll do them on specific days, like my birthday, or if I'm like really down bad for some reason. And I'll try to reshuffle because I'll be like, this isn't that clear. And I'll get the same cards. It's like, no, bitch, like, it's clear. This is what you have to hear. And I'm like, damn, okay.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so true. I I brace myself for my year reading when I do a birthday year reading, and I'm like, because I'll do the houses, and like right when it gets to the angles where it's like career and relationship, and you're just like, please God, don't let it be the devil, please God, like, just at least give me the Five of Pentacles reversed, like, at least give me out of these things that I put myself in. No, and that's really true. It's that I think is where maybe the overthinking happens for new tarot readers when they start getting tripped up, is that the questions that you're asked you're not a lot of times prepared for. And you are not prepared for the answer that you're going to get because you want to see, certain things. I know this isn't maybe probably what Sandra would teach, but for somebody who has been doing it themselves and has, learned from somebody who has a whole tradition behind it, and now also, opened up to your own beliefs and your own practice. Would you say that to like a baby tarot reader that it would be acceptable to split the deck into its elements when somebody asks a question? So if somebody says, I'd like to know a little bit about love, and the person's nervous and doesn't know really how to, put everything together, would you tell them, take all the cups out and use those? Or would you tell them, no, just like go with it and trust your intuition? It doesn't have to be exactly what the person's looking for. How would you navigate that?
Yeah, so I think it really depends on the person. Like when I'm teaching someone how to read, if they have, a different type of spiritual background, say like astrology or something like that, then I'll definitely tell them to go with that, because sometimes I'll include that in my readings because I also learned astrology from Sandra. And so that has an aspect that comes into my readings, like it affirms things and it helps me explain things to the people that I'm reading to. But if they have no knowledge of that kind of stuff, then I just say, honestly, like, the book isn't a bad thing to use. If you can read that book and find some kind of modernized meaning for it, because sometimes it's like, you will inherit a lot of land, which nobody's doing now.
No.
If you can find like a meaning that makes sense, then go for it. But usually in terms of a reading, especially for a baby tarot reader, I try to tell them not to have the person ask them a specific question. Like when I have a person think about 3 things they want to know about, I say, don't tell me, because I don't want to have it on my brain that I need to give you a specific answer for something, because I know one of them's going to be love. And then if you're thinking of a second one, it's definitely going to be career. And third's probably going to be like, where I live in New York City, third one's definitely housing or something like that. And
Yeah.
so it's pretty typical of what people want to know, depending on the age, of course. Like I was giving readings to like 45-year-old women the other day, and they had completely different questions than like someone my age would. But usually I say, don't tell me. And it's not until I get through the first few cards and they say that what I'm saying is accurate that I ask them if they'd like to tell me what it is that I'm pointing towards, or if they'd like me to just keep reading.
I really like that. I think that just really takes the pressure off of a new person to
Hmm.
be so accurate and so, correct. And I also will say, when I start the reading for when somebody books me for a psychic reading, I don't like them to give me anything whatsoever. I am like, let me
Yes.
just do a really quick spread just to see what spirit has to say, because something that might be on your mind may not be what spirit sees as prevalent. So I remember one time I was reading somebody, and it's also nice because they want to hear what spirit's going to say, because if they hear the thing, not even just what they want to hear, but if they hear what they're thinking about come up, it really connects them into
Hmm.
the story. But also it's very interesting to for them to hear things they weren't going to ask me about. And they were this one person was like, I am having an issue with my business. I was going to ask you about love, but
Yeah.
I can you tell me a little bit more about my business, because that is, thank you for bringing that up. And it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, because spirit sees the big things that are happening in your life.
Exactly.
You're connected and attached to these other things that spirit, it's not that spirit's not saying love is important. It's just that that might not be what's happening right now, or that
Hmm.
might not be the thing that spirit sees as like the biggest thing.
Exactly. It's like a person knocking on a fish tank while the fish is like off the other corner. It's like, hey, look over here. You need to learn more about this. It's also, I think, sometimes a really nice switch of perspective for people. Um, I think part of me learning to read from Sandra and her, like, so it's she's such a matter of fact Capricorn, and I have a Capricorn rising, so I can connect to it a little bit. I definitely channel her a little bit when I'm giving readings, especially when it comes to people I either know or like feel the energy that they can handle it. I'll just be like, this is what you need to be focusing on. Go on. You don't need to be focusing on. And they're like, wow. And I'm like, yeah. So like, shut up about that. It's great. You can talk about it later. You can think about it later, but this is what you need. And they're like, whoa.
Yes, that is a really, I mean, it is also, like you said, nice to know how to translate in a way that's not so, but when you
Exactly.
can and that person can take it, I mean, a lot of times that can even be the impetus to transform for a person. They
Exactly.
needed that directness, and that
Hmm.
like you're wasting your time, you're wasting your energy, you're wasting, all of your potential by fixating on something that is so, it's immovable. It just, if it wants to come to you, it'll come to you. So
Exactly.
move
And it
forward.
tends to be the people who are the most timid with themselves that need that kind of approach and respond well to it. Like someone who's already sitting there thinking like, oh, maybe this is the case. Maybe I should do something about that. Maybe I should focus my attention over here. That's when they need that. No, this is what you need to do. You're right about it. Go and do it. Because if I'm sitting there being like, maybe you should do this, like, yeah, maybe I should do that. You're right. It's not going to get them anywhere because they're already ruminating in that little cycle of maybe.
Exactly. And that's also the intimidating factor for a new tarot reader is like, but I want to say maybe because I'm nervous that it's not really this. And that's
Exactly.
the bridge you got to create, and just sort
Yeah.
of take that leap of faith that because you don't know what cards are coming out, have faith in the randomness of, the universe, or this, the synchronicity of the cards that come out.
And that's the thing too, as I think that there's this I think this unspoken word that you can't tell people that you feel insecure about what you might say. That's why I love doing that. I love reading someone and saying like, so I'm getting something very specific from this card that makes me nervous to say it because that just means that I have a 99% chance of being wrong, but I'm going to say it anyway. And if it's wrong, I want you to let me know. And usually it's not wrong, but it's just so specific that I get nervous. And because everyone gets nervous. I'm just talking out of my butt about these people's lives and I don't know them. Well, they think I'm talking out of my butt. I'm obviously reading something that's very in depth. But it can be scary to just, put yourself out there and say, "Are you dealing with this very specific issue?" And they're like, "Yes, I am." Because they could say no, and then you just feel shut down and you're like, "Let me pull a card for clarification." And that usually doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But I think that I personally find it very refreshing, especially when I'm teaching somebody to read tarot, to admit when I'm nervous to say something.
I love that. I think that's really important too, especially for baby tarot readers. Or for expert tarot readers, because you're right. Like there's some things that come out. Like if I see the devil and I see the King of Wands reversed, that's not good.
It's
Especially
not
if you're
ideal.
talking about love. Like
Yeah.
you're not, I mean, like a lot of times that indicates abuse. And it's not often that somebody comes to me that's dealing with that level of abuse, but it's happened. And those cards are the ones that come out.
Exactly. And that's the thing
yeah.
too, is that they might be on the other end of it. And how are you going to go about saying that?
Exactly. So that's when you, I think as a baby tarot reader, you just got to start slow. You don't need to be going into these big, 8-foot, 12-foot pools being like, okay, let's get out here into the world and heal people. Let's heal them all. It's like, guys.
No.
Exactly.
It's also draining. It's very draining.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it's life is so complicated. And people are, looking for answers that are open to the answer, and also people, like you said, that are closed to certain answers. And so to approach people with such a, spear, unless you have like that Romany sort of power around you, or that like, tradition that makes you feel really powerful, it's really hard to be that specific and not, do exactly what you said.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was reading this like, she was such a this girl boss woman, who had just like recently started her own company, and like so many of the cards were pointing to like, you're falling back into your old patterns, stop being selfish, but also like relinquish power because it's killing you. But I can't say that, I have to be like, so like you always the one that makes the decisions because you know what's right. And when you know what's right, and you want to go for it, but also you're not giving yourself enough energy, and you need to be able to delegate. And that's like the word that I thought would be the best to use, because it shows her that there's some power that she can relinquish by having the power to give that power to other people. You know what I mean? Like it's really finding the correct words to make these people feel good about what I'm saying, even if it's not the most positive thing.
And I wouldn't say delegation isn't positive, but you're right. People have their own perspective on what they're hearing, or their own, emotional triggers. Like, oh, you don't think I'm capable of handling this much, or you think that I am doing poorly in one area, and it's like, no, I just think that you need a better quality of life.
Exactly.
And I think you need to give people stuff to do.
Yes, because she had gotten out of her old job for the exact reason that she was getting run down, so she created her own business, which seems counterintuitive, but if you delegate, it's not the case. And she just wasn't delegating, and it's like, well, that's exactly why you left your old situation, so why would you bring that back into the new one? Yes, we have these patterns that we follow in life, but we have to break them in order to grow.
Thank you so much for spending your time with us. If you haven't already, feel free to sign up to my Substack, especially if you like to know what's happening with astrology. I send out a weekly Sunday newsletter called This Week in the Sky, and it projects the upcoming transits, retrogrades, eclipses, and so on. And I also do a little mini tarot reading for everybody. So if you like that kind of thing, subscribe to my Substack. That's free. Otherwise, we will see you tomorrow. Take care.